Welcome to another explainer. Today, we're diving into a hauntingly beautiful tale of supernatural romance, gothic mystery, and the violent collision of two totally different worlds. It's called The Jinn Prince and the Girl Who Saw Him. This is one of those stories that really gets under your skin because it asks some incredibly profound questions about trauma, redemption, and what it actually means to be a monster. Maybe because no one loved the monster enough to understand it. That single thought right there, that is the entire emotional core of this dark fairy tale. It sets up our central premise perfectly, suggesting that fear is usually just our knee-jerk reaction to something we haven't taken the time to actually understand. Keep that idea in your back pocket as we dive into the lore. Section 1. The Shadow in the Village. Finding Light in a Cursed World. Picture this. You're in a bleak, mud-walled village where it literally never stops raining. The sky always looks like it's weeping. And here is where we find 19-year-old Meera. She's an orphan living a truly impoverished, tragic life. We're talking washing clothes by the freezing river before sunrise and stitching torn fabrics by candlelight, all while being completely ignored or totally shunned by the other villagers. But the thing is, in the shadows, she's never actually alone. Silently watching over her from the darkness is a terrifying but gorgeous Jinn named Zaire with these glowing silver eyes. And this isn't just some creepy stalking situation. It's an invisible protection, and it manifests in some pretty intense ways. Drunk men who try to harass her, they suddenly suffer these bizarre, awful accidents. Thieves trying to break into her flimsy little house absolutely vanish before sunrise. And when a wild wolf attacks her, it's found practically torn to shreds the very next morning. It's like the darkness itself obeys this poor girl. Zaire is taking his inherently violent nature and using it to silently guard Meera, which establishes this incredibly deep, unspoken bond between a fragile human and a literal, immortal being. Section 2. A History of Blood. The Origins of the Demon Prince. To really understand Zaire, we've got to rewind. We are talking about a massive, sprawling lore that spans centuries. Hundreds of years ago, Zaire, who is an heir to one of the oldest dark kingdoms beneath the earth, falls madly in love with a human named Isla. But humans, doing what humans do when they're terrified, murder Isla right in front of him. Obviously, this breaks him. It triggers decades of absolute ruin, where Zaire slaughters entire cities in this apocalyptic spree of revenge. Finally, human priests manage to trap the mad Jinn in a cursed forest well, and he just sits there, chained up for centuries, until an 8-year-old Meera wanders into the woods, touches his chains with a simple little copper charm, and accidentally frees a literal demon. The irony here is just staggering. An innocent child's simple kindness totally undoes centuries of holy magic. So, we end up with this completely flipped morality. Think about it. On one side, you have the holy priests, but they are driven entirely by fear. They are absolutely willing to murder an innocent girl just to prevent a prophecy, using their so-called holy rituals for cruel, ruthless ends. Then, on the flip side, you have the demon prince. Zaire is motivated entirely by unconditional love. He fiercely protects the innocent and actively holds back his own apocalyptic power just to make Meera smile. It really begs the question, doesn't it? Who are the real monsters in this universe? Section 3. The Ancient Order Attacks. The Collision of Two Worlds. So the Ancient Order of Priests, led by this utterly ruthless guy named Priest Rahim, finally discovers Meera's village, and they bring fire and violence right to her doorstep. Zaire's response to this threat is absolute. He says, "If they touch you, I will burn this world." During the ensuing chaos, Zaire is forced to drop his human disguise and transform into his true nightmarish demonic form. We're talking massive black wings, huge horns, blazing silver fire. He is terrified that Meera will see this and reject him. But she doesn't. She literally walks right up to this horrifying creature, touches his chest, and fully accepts him. To keep her safe, Zaire whisks Meera away to his gothic mountain castle, but the priests don't give up. They track them down, and Rahim brings a weapon called the Blade of Suleiman. This is an ancient, glowing dagger that is actually capable of killing immortal beings. Suddenly, the stakes go through the roof. For the first time in hundreds of years, an immortal god feels genuine, raw fear, and it's not just for Meera anymore. It's for his own life. As Rahim hurls the Blade of Suleiman straight at Zaire's heart, the unthinkable happens. Meera steps right in front of it. She takes the fatal strike meant for the Jinn. She chooses to sacrifice herself so that this deeply lonely, immortal being won't ever have to be alone again. And as she dies right there in his arms, something ancient totally shatters inside Zaire. His grief is so immense, so unfathomable, that it plunges the entire world into 3 full days of sunless, pitch-black darkness. Section 4. The Forbidden Ritual. An irreversible bond. Zaire absolutely refuses to lose his love a second time, so he turns to some incredibly dangerous, ancient, forbidden magic to save her. But this isn't just a quick healing spell. It is a terrifying, irreversible curse, and it works in 3 brutal stages. First is the soul binding, where their spirits are literally merged together in silver fire. Second is shared pain, meaning Zaire will now forever feel every single ounce of Meera's physical and emotional suffering. And finally, the eternal connection, which permanently tethers Meera to the spirit realm beyond death. He binds her soul to his just to keep her breathing. But obviously, a spell like that doesn't come for free. There is a massive cost. Because their souls are linked, Meera's mind is instantly flooded with visions of Zaire's traumatic past. She actually sees Ayla's murder. She feels the crushing weight of his centuries of agonizing loneliness. Physically, this silver light now constantly glows beneath her skin. And worst of all, this new spiritual power she carries inadvertently turns her into a beacon. It makes her a target for something much, much worse that's been lurking in the dark. Section 5. War for the Abyss. The final descent into darkness. Enter Malik there. The forbidden ritual ends up awakening an apocalyptic new enemy. Malik is the cruel giant king of the Abyss, which is a dark realm that is literally older than humanity itself. And Malik wants Meera. Because of her new bond with Zaire, she now holds the power to tear open the gates between the human and demon realms forever, and Malik fully intends to use her to completely wipe out the human world. To save the world, and more importantly, to save each other, Zaire and Meera march straight down into the abyss. They navigate this epic, terrifying landscape of glowing fire and jagged black mountains, walking right up to the gigantic bone doors of Malik's kingdom. And an all-out war explodes. Zaire fights like a literal god of destruction, just tearing through hordes of shadow monsters with massive waves of silver flames. But Malik is an ancient king for a reason. He is brutally powerful. He actually manages to strike Zaire down and rips Meera away. He starts torturing her, actively using her pain to force the gates between the worlds to rip open. You literally start seeing human cities appearing in the sky of the abyss. But watching Meera suffer like that, it pushes Zaire entirely past the brink. He goes beyond rage, entering the state of pure, unstoppable, absolute love. Zaire suddenly erupts in blinding silver fire that is brighter than the sun. In that moment, he realizes that while Malik taught him how to use power through fear, Meera taught him something infinitely stronger. Unleashing every last drop of his life force, Zaire shatters the gates himself. The shadow armies are burned away instantly. In this spectacular, ultimate sacrifice, Zaire manages to seal Malik beneath the earth forever, saving both worlds in one fell swoop. Section 6. Love Beyond Death. The Eternal Resolution. But that kind of world-saving power has a fatal price. The magic Zaire used entirely consumes him. He falls weakly into Meera's arms, and his body literally begins turning to ash. It is this deeply bittersweet, heartbreaking tragedy. The immortal Jinn finally becomes human enough to die, right there in the arms of the woman he loves. As he fades away into silver light, his very last words to her are, "I will find you again, even beyond death." That brings us to the number one single promise kept. Years go by. The rest of the world completely forgets the horrors they faced. Meera rebuilds her tiny little house by the river, and every single winter night, she sits outside in the freezing snow, just waiting. People in the village call her mad, but then, one night, through the falling snow, a tall man dressed in black, with glowing silver eyes, finally appears. He came back. Which leaves us with this massive, lingering thought. What is truly more powerful? The fear of a monster or the unconditional love that tames it? This story does such a brilliant job of showing us that trauma and violence really only breed more of the exact same thing. But genuine empathy and understanding, they have the power to break cycles that have lasted for centuries. It really makes you wonder about our own world, doesn't it? About the monsters we might be creating simply because we refuse to understand them. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep questioning the shadows.